I used to laugh at people who spent thousands on furniture. Why would anyone drop $5 grand on a couch? I thought they were completely out of touch. My rule was simple: if it's functional and cheap, it's good enough. But a year ago, my life flipped upside down, and so did that belief. I spent $5,000 on a couch, and it changed the way I think about money, comfort, and what it means to build a life. And the craziest part? It had nothing to do with luxury. It had everything to do with identity. This decision went against every frugal bone in my body. For weeks, I wrestled with guilt. That voice saying, "You're supposed to know better." But the truth is, this wasn't just a financial decision. It was an emotional one. And it revealed something uncomfortable about how all of us assign value to the things we buy. Because this isn't really about a couch. It's about the psychology of spending, the price of peace, and how sometimes, a single irrational purchase can become the most rational decision you ever make. The pre-couch era. For most of my adult life, I was aggressively practical. I was the king of Craigslist. The champion of good enough. If a $400 couch did the job, why spend more? I told myself, smart people don't pay for fluff. They pay for function. My old sofa was lumpy, uneven, and vaguely grayish-brown, the exact shade of moral superiority. It creaked like it was trying to escape every time I sat down, but I wore that like a badge of honor. I wasn't materialistic. I was efficient. Or at least, that's what I told myself. To me, expensive furniture wasn't about comfort. It was about ego. I looked at designer homes and thought, you're not decorating, you're performing. Psychologists have a word for that: status consumption. Spending money to project stability, rather than actually having it. And I genuinely believed I was above it. My home wasn't a sanctuary, it was a utility. A crash pad between work shifts and errands. And I told myself that meant I had my priorities straight. But the truth was, my life had no room for stillness. Everything was functional, but nothing felt fulfilling. Life turning point. Then came the rupture. A breakup. A move. A complete restart. The kind of life event that forces you to look at every part of your existence under a microscope. I remember standing in the middle of a new apartment, empty walls, no sound, no furniture. And realizing for the first time, I don't live anywhere. I just exist between things. That moment hit harder than I expected. Because the silence wasn't peaceful. It was hollow. And it made me ask something I'd never asked before. What if being frugal had turned into being fearful? Fearful of spending, of comfort, of allowing myself to enjoy what I'd worked for. That's when my idea of value started to shift. The journey to a $5,000 couch. The journey didn't start with a luxury showroom. It started with desperation, scrolling Wayfair, IKEA, Facebook Marketplace, anything that could fill the void. There were endless options. $1,200, $1,600, $2,000, all reasonable, all fine. But every single one of them felt temporary. They looked like furniture you buy for a life you haven't committed to. And I was done with temporary. Then came the internal argument. The logical voice: save your money. Don't be stupid. And the quieter one: what's the cost of not feeling at home? That question stopped me. Then, I found it, the couch. Minimalist. Deep seats. Neutral tone. It looked like calm made tangible. Then I saw the price tag, $5,000. My heart sank. My brain screamed, you could fund an IRA with that. I closed the tab. Then reopened it. Again. And again. So I started researching, not the couch, but why I couldn't let it go. That's when I stumbled on a concept called symbolic self-completion. It's the psychological idea that when you feel incomplete or uncertain about who you are, you use external symbols, objects, rituals, even purchases, to rebuild that sense of self. And suddenly, it clicked. After months of instability, I didn't just want a couch. I wanted something that said, "This chapter is new, but it's mine." I wanted comfort not as a luxury, but as proof of progress. So after weeks of hesitation, with my stomach in knots and my inner frugal self screaming, I clicked buy. And immediately regretted it. If you've ever made a decision that didn't make financial sense but made emotional sense, subscribe. On Money Moves, we explore the space where logic, money, and real life intersect. Delivery day. The day it arrived, I almost canceled the delivery. 2 movers brought in this massive, beautifully wrapped box, and all I saw was $5,000 in cardboard. I stood there thinking, this was a mistake. I've lost my mind. But when they unwrapped it, I froze. The texture, the stitching, the depth of color, it was the first time I'd ever looked at an object and felt calm. Then I sat down. Not perched, sank. Like my body finally exhaled. The silence in that apartment changed. It wasn't emptiness anymore. It was peace. And for the first time in months, the place didn't feel like a stranger's home. It felt like mine. The real value. Was it worth it? Financially? Probably not. You can buy a perfectly good couch for $1,500. Diminishing returns are real. But here's the thing, I wasn't paying for fabric and foam. I was paying for stability. For ownership. For symbolic self-respect. That couch became my anchor. It's where I read the first book that made me feel like myself again. Where I called old friends, cooked dinner, and started feeling human again. It's funny, I used to think comfort was the reward after you've made it. But sometimes comfort is the tool that helps you survive long enough to make it at all. The psychology of value. Here's what I've learned digging into behavioral finance and consumer psychology. We like to believe we're logical shoppers, comparing features, checking reviews, hunting discounts. But we rarely buy for function. We buy for identity. Every purchase says something. I'm successful. I'm in control. I'm healing. And when you understand that, money stops being about numbers. It becomes a mirror. Economists call this hedonic adaptation, the idea that we get used to comfort quickly. But psychologists have a counterpoint, when the purchase is tied to a deep emotional shift, like rebuilding after loss. It can have lasting impact because it becomes part of your story, not your inventory. That couch wasn't a status symbol. It was a statement, I'm allowed to rest. Conclusion. Sometimes, the crazy choice makes the most sense. We're taught to treat money as math, but life isn't an equation. Our spaces are emotional ecosystems. And investing in peace, calm, and belonging isn't irresponsible, it's survival. The truth is, your money is just a tool. And sometimes the smartest way to spend it is on something that helps you rebuild the person spending it. So no, this video isn't telling you to buy a $5,000 couch. It's about giving yourself permission to buy meaning. Because the things that really change our lives usually don't show up on spreadsheets. They show up when we sit down, take a breath, and finally feel at home again. Now I'm curious. What's your crazy purchase that made perfect sense to you? Was it a trip, an instrument, a piece of art? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And if you like stories where money meets meaning, you're in the right place. Thanks for watching.